Get the jitters out.
Jitters?
Get the jitters.
You have jitters?
No.
Do you call it jitters?
What?
I don't even go to college.
Butterflies in your stomach? I don't know.
College? You say college jitters?
No, do you
Call
call
it
it jitters?
jitters.
I've never heard anyone say jitters.
I call it butterflies. Yeah, I didn't have
Butterflies is better.
The nervies. Little
Only
nervous.
you.
Sorry.
Only you say
Okay.
that.
Well, I guess that's.
You sure he's the same age as us?
Well, okay. Not cool.
He doesn't know a lot about memes either.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring y'all in.
Oh, she's gonna bring us in.
Okay.
Coming in hot.
We started.
Oh. Well, howdy, and welcome to Voyagers Path, episode 2, where today we're going to be talking about accountability, how to apply it, how to teach it, and how to balance it. Ahmed, would you? Oh, was that me? Ooh.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious? All right. How about I
How about you
say-
just pick this one back up? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, what Tony was gonna say before he forgot to put it on silent or whatever.
Let me go do that. It's right in front of the mic.
We were just like you said, we were going to talk about accountability, but before we do that, we were going to say exactly what's important. You know, because if you don't know why it's important, why should you do it? We'll describe what accountability is later, but accountability is important because it shapes as a framework for you changing and improving. If you don't take accountability for your responsibility, then you're just going to stay in the same place you are, and you won't improve yourself and actually not be a slave to life.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
You couldn't.
No, I couldn't. I tried enough times and
Yeah.
failed. Thank you.
No
Thank you
problem.
for that. So, got a big question for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that the choices and decisions you make in your life influence your life?
Kevin?
Well, I mean, I think it's a pretty obvious question. Of course it does. I mean, if you do something when you're young, it's always going to show up later down the line. You know,
Cool.
like if you don't, let's say if you're in school and you don't do a paper assignment, you're gonna get a 0. At that time, you're gonna say, okay, that's fine, But like if you don't end up turning it in and then you don't continue turning in other homework,
enough
other
zeros
homework,
make
enough
up,
zeros gonna
you
make up and it's gonna
Take
add
the
up.
grade again and again and
Yes.
again. Now you're the 20-year-old in high school.
Is that what happened to you?
Man. All right. How about
was a
you,
big-
Ahmed? Do you think it matters
To an extent, yeah.
to an extent?
Because if we're being honest, like Kevin said,
Always being honest. Always being honest.
I was talking.
Sorry.
Like I was saying, your actions do have consequences, and consequences is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does shape your life. But there'll always be certain things that are out of your control, like, oh, it's raining today, and I can't do the thing I was planning to do. But for the most part, your actions do have consequences. If you were born from a single family, you have no control in that. But if you choose to get out of a bad scenario, get into like middle class or upper class, or even just get a job, then you could work on that through your actions and your decisions.
Good. Yeah. A little example I had, our wrestling coach, Coach Roach. One day, I think it was because of the inguinal hernia surgery, but I was not able to participate in wrestling that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had me sit outside of the wrestling room, and wrestling practice is like 90 minutes or 2 hours. So I just kind of left because I lived 2 minutes away from the school. So I just like, okay, toodaloo, see you later. And the next day, Coach Roach was like, hey guy, I saw you weren't there when I came out. How can I trust you anymore?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, you can't. Really couldn't. And I don't blame him. I kind of broke his trust. So I don't think I ever earned it back. I don't think there is any way to repair that because trust is a very vulnerable thing.
Uh-huh.
But I also agree, and that is a pretty solid thing example that I have in my life of
Being accountable.
well, messing up and it influencing my life.
So I have a question. Did you become accountable for it? Like, did you own up to your?
Nope. At that time, I was just like, it's not. Whenever I was in that situation, especially the younger Tony, my thing was, okay, if I can't wrestle and I'm going to spend 2 hours, because I thought I was going to spend 2 hours out there. It could have been like, hey, 30 minutes, stay out here. I don't honestly have no recollection of why I was out there, but I left because I wanted to go hang out with my girlfriend. I wanted to go do my own thing. So I was like, it's not my fault. Coach put me in this stupid position. I had to make this choice. So, of course, I'm going to leave and go do my own thing.
Mhm.
So, no, I did not hold myself accountable. I mean, now, yeah, I can see how I messed up and made the wrong choice. But in the heat of the moment, nah, I thought he was stupid. No offense, Coach Roach. So, with that said, are you aware of the phrase that everything happens for a reason?
Yes, I
Yes, you are.
am. I am.
Okay, what does that mean? That everything happens for a reason.
Well, it sort of can be interpreted in different ways. A lot of religions say that.
Do
Or
they?
They do. That's
Okay.
how I heard of it.
Really?
Yeah. But you know, the whole
Oh,
action.
I guess
of
like the whole no accidents. No.
Is this a question or is this a rhetorical question where you add your?
Okay, forgive me. I'm so sorry. All right, go on.
I just completely forgot the
Okay,
question.
I think so. The whole thing that I was saying. Unless Kevin, did you have anything to say about that
No, I completely
phrase?
forgot a question, so please
Okay,
repeat.
great. The whole phrase was everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
I would hear that. I did hear that a lot from like edgy kids in school, and all the time it was they had no control over what happened. They would use that more of a saying that you can't stop what's going to happen, like fate,
Right.
almost, in a negative way. I learned, however, that it's not what it means. Of course, you can say it like that and you can apply it like that, but with everything happening for a reason, it's because of the dominoes you set up, or that's a weird way to say it. The things you do in your life set you up to succeed
Mhm.
or fail.
Right.
So if you lose your job because you decided not to go to work and you decided, it's raining outside, I have to take the bus to work, but instead I'm just not gonna work. And you call your boss and they say, well, make it work anyway. And there's multiple ways you could make it work. You could wear a trash bag, cut some holes in there, wear a trash bag, walk in the rain, go to work. But regardless, if you're the one who says, I quit, and you lose your job, it's not because life sucks
Mhm.
and that's out of your control. It's because you obviously quit. And standing from here at this vantage point, looking back, we can easily see, like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. Of course, that's the reason.
Mhm.
But stepping off from that, with accountability and learning how to apply it, because that is what this podcast is for. And of course, we are only on our second episode, so things are a little rusty. Things are a little new for all three of us, because never doing a lot of public speaking. Well, we have our own experiences of like school rehearsed type things, but nothing on this scale. But with accountability and learning how to apply it,
Mhm.
trying to find a way to talk about it and explain it to people our age, people with our mentality, our mindset, or those who are wanting to grow. The first thing I'd like to make clear is that on this path that you're on, the Voyagers Path, you can
I like that. That was good.
you like
I
that
like
one?
that. That was good.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Okay. With being on the Voyagers Path, you have to make the decision to change your life.
Mhm.
Because, like me, I was going one way, and thanks to the positive influences in my life, I decided to change and make a difference. The first thing that I had to do, first thing I had to learn, was holding myself accountable for the things that were going on in my life. With teaching that, how would you say you could apply that in your day-to-day life? How would you be able to apply accountability? Do you think there's an easy way to do that?
I don't think it really is an easy way to think. It's just something you have to learn and develop. Because if we're being honest, people think, oh, kids, they just need to be accountable for the things they do. But there are a lot of adults that are like that too.
There's a lot of adults who swing around the word responsibility. Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think there is.
Which I know is a trick question. We had talked about that. But
We did,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. What is the
So-
difference?
Responsibility is sort of the tasks or things that you're supposed to do. So say, for example, you're a leader. You're responsible for the people that you're looking after. But accountability is you actually owning up to the things that you were supposed to do and whether you did it or not. So say, oh, I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do. Well, if you're being accountable, you'd own up to it by saying, hey, I didn't do the things I'm supposed to do. I'm sorry. I'll make sure that won't happen again. And that's sort of the difference. The accountability is whether you did the things you were responsible for and you own up to it.
Yeah, so you... Oh,
Okay.
Oh, Kevin.
So that's something.
Whoa.
So I'm still a little confused. So
Okay.
can I give you a situation? You guys tell me the difference between responsibility and
Nah, I can't do
accountability?
that.
Okay, that's fine. I'll ask Ahmed then.
Okay.
So Ahmed, if you're in a school project group
Right.
and the rest of your group doesn't want to do any work and you're the only one stuck doing it last day,
Mm-hmm.
and you tell them, hey, we need to get this done before it's due, would that be accountability or responsibility?
Well, sorry.
No, go
he
ahead.
asked you. No, he asked you.
Okay.
He asked you. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'll
the
tune in
biggest thing about
afterwards.
the two is that they go hand in hand. You'll often see the two together. You're responsible to do the project and do the thing, and you're also responsible for your teammates because it is a group project, and you're really being held accountable for it because you are making sure you're telling everyone, hey, I'm doing this, and in the end, you were being held accountable because you told everyone, okay, these are the things we need to do, that we are responsible, so let's do that.
Now, for you kids out there in school, I mean, do not pick partners who will not do the work. Lesson learned right there.
Don't pick your friends.
Don't. Well, no, you pick. Oh.
Don't pick
you
your
don't pick your
friends.
friends
Don't
for
pick
the
your-
projects.
Pick to win.
My friends are responsible. I don't know what friends
I mean,
you have.
I would always like opt out to do it on my own for whatever project. I'd be like, no, I'll just do it myself and do my best. But yeah, I do think that what Ahmed said, it does go hand in hand, and he kind of hit it right on the nose there.
Man, I'm just on a roll.
Okay, big guy. So we kind of made it clear. In your life, if things are kind of crappy, if things are moving in a poor direction, there's one real reason for it. It's you. It's the mentality you have. And if we can break this down, allow me to break it down like this, and to let me know if you follow along. I know you're a little slow. You have your thoughts, right? Your thoughts it's your mentality. And I'm a firm believer that your mentality, whatever you believe inside, will be reflected in what's going on around you.
Right.
So your thoughts, if they are, well, I won't even do that. If you have thoughts, which you should, they're going to lead eventually to actions. You're going to act on your thoughts. You're going to say something. You're going to do something, right? So with accountability, whatever action it is you take, you must afterwards hold yourself accountable for whatever debris there is, whatever rewards there are, whatever downfall there is, if you want to get on the Voyagers Path. If you want to redirect your life and you want to get out from the mud and the dirt and the grimy stuff that you're in now and head for, we can just say the light. If you want to head for the light, head north. Look at that. Head north on the Voyagers Path. Then you have to start saying, okay, this crap is happening. The only person who's going to change it is me, because I'm the one who's making this crap happen.
Are we allowed to say that?
Crap? Yeah. Damn, I don't know.
I like to add something.
Yeah.
So, even if immediately, you're not gonna immediately, get it down. You're gonna progressively grow onto it. Like, let me give you an example.
Are you saying are you saying like a skill, like learning how to do this?
No, it's just like, so. Yes, let me say it as a skill. Okay.
Okay. I'll let you have that. Go ahead.
Hold on. I think it's easier if I give the example. So, to me, I used to live my life like, hey, that's how it is. That's how it's always going to be. Because, like, that's how I thought my life is going to be. But Calvin showed me how on, like, the right path. Like, it's like a tree branch almost. The tree branch, it branches off. It's not like a single tree
I didn't
bark,
get the tree branch when I was living. What He didn't use that with me.
No, I'm just saying as an
You're
example.
interrupting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
I'm sorry. I just felt
How I took Calvin's explanation
Okay,
to me.
uh-huh.
So it's kind of like a tree, like not like just one bark.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of branches branching off.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
not one clear path. Like you can change it, and there's multiple paths you can go on.
Sure.
That's how I've gone at it.
Of course. Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
That's all you had to
Yeah,
say.
that's all I have to
Can I
say.
add
it.
something
Yeah.
to that?
Jeez. Yeah. Go for it.
Is that a G's?
Go for it. No, just go for it.
alright. I can kind of, that sort of also relates to accountability because you can actually go towards that path or go towards the different branches of that tree if you don't start by first being accountable for yourself. If you start off by saying, even if you didn't get it right the first time, as long as you start off by saying, okay, well, I didn't get it right, let me try and change that, then you'll move up the branch, and then the more times you do hold yourself accountable, you'll continue to move up. That's sort of how I see his example.
Okay. I love it. I'll eat that. It's
'Cause
good.
if you move up, you unlock more paths.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
in more
sense.
situations, more paths. That's why it's like I kind of compared it to the tree.
To the tree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. So, before we move on to the next little part,
Right.
with applying accountability. Application is not an easy thing. Now, when you review it, for one, hindsight is 2020. When you're at this point and you are not really in the heat of the moment, of course, the right answer is pretty obvious. I would say. I was a cool kid in high
Yeah,
school.
wouldn't
I
say.
knew a lot of people. I
Right.
did a lot of things with my time, but none of it was ever for the betterment of myself.
Right.
And that put me in a lifestyle and an environment where I was never progressing.
Right.
I was working at this really cool job, and it was easy to move up the ranks, and my whole plan was just stay here and maybe become a manager and get a girlfriend, smoke some nice pot, and live in an apartment with her and die when I'm 35, you know? And because I had no direction, when I came to the conclusion, thanks to my dad's help, that, okay, life is not just something out of my control. Life is something that I can influence and that I can create, I can manifest. After I came to that realization, looking at all the stuff that I was doing in high school, all the really cool stuff, all the stuff that I was, all the
Cool.
Cool
well, I
stuff.
still call it cool.
They're nice.
All the stuff that would get you the street cred, No,
It's not good credit.
well,
How about we just move
okay.
along?
But yeah, all that and saying,
Mhm.
if you are in high school or college now and you're cruising, you're doing all right. You're not pushing yourself. You're not trying to develop. You're not trying to set goals and knock them out. Assess your life and see what state it's in. And if you think it can get better, well, I guess that's really it. If you think it can get better, then you are already on the right.
If you think it can get better,
If
it
you
can.
If
yeah,
you
okay,
we'll
choose
just leave
in
it at
the
that
first
way.
place.
I'm gonna stop stepping on my own toes.
Yeah.
I was trying to get emotional. I was not emotional. I was trying to get inspirational. I can't do that on the spot.
Mhm.
So, moving on to how to teach accountability.
Mhm.
You can always teach accountability to peers, and you can always teach accountability to your brother, your sister, or students, or your pupil, I guess you would call them. Yeah, is that a term?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Karate Kid. Okay.
Have you ever taught anyone a skill?
Would you like to say something?
I would. Is driving's a skill, right? I would
Yeah,
say.
it's a skill.
It's
I-
a skill.
Okay, what's the first thing you try to do when you're teaching, when you're trying to show someone a new skill?
Trying to teach someone a new skill.
Yeah.
I would say lay out the platform and see. So, since I'm saying driving, for instance,
Mhm.
if I'm teaching someone how to drive, I would show them like all the signs, what to do before you get into the car, right before you turn on the car. Like
Mhm.
the big important stuff, like they're gonna make you do during the test.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important things. So
You don't just throw him in the deep end of the pool and put him on a highway
Trial
without
by
any.
See, that's trail.
Yeah,
That's trail to the fire.
That doesn't
That
always
works on a
work.
different. Yeah, that
Yeah.
works on a different level. But with this, it kind of, it doesn't throw you in,
Mhm.
but it still kind of, it gives you more information. It's just being more informative.
Good deal. Whenever I would train people at work, you kind of learn certain methods of how to break things down and how to explain things.
Right.
With teaching, I fully agree. The best way to teach, best way to lead, is by example.
Right.
And as you lead by example, those who are watching are going to learn. If someone is not watching, you have to recognize that, and let's just do a one-on-one scenario with a mentor and a pupil. A mentor is definitely going to notice what the pupil is or is not doing, right?
Mhm.
So you have to try your best to tenderly teach the accountability by holding them accountable. That's what Calvin did to me. He would catch me in lies so many times. There was one time I snuck out, and I went out to someone's apartment, and we were just having a jolly old time
Mhm.
and letting loose. But I stayed the night there, which I was supposed to go back to my house. I stayed the night there. He ends up calling me, and I just lied to him. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm there. I'm at the place, and I'm at my house, and that's what I'm doing. Didn't do anything else. Haven't left the house. I'm there. You can find me there. Solid." A lie, obviously. He calls my nana, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Tony hasn't been home since last night."
Mhm.
And I get home, and I'm like, I find out through Nana that he knows. A little scared, little guilty, and I'm waiting out in the because he says I'm gonna see you tonight. I'm gonna stop by. So I'm waiting out in the driveway for a couple hours, thinking of how can I explain this, because it's the first time I've ever had to explain explain a lie that he caught me in. I had to explain that to an authority figure, because I could give a rat's ass about an authority figure in my life up until that point.
Mhm.
And I sat out there for a good couple hours until he drove up. And the first thing I said to him when he came out was, "I lied to you, and I'm sorry." So he didn't just stop teaching me after that. He held me accountable. And there are multiple. It's not like a one thing. It didn't just snap into place. It was moment upon moment, built one on top of each other. The consistency
Mhm.
of holding me accountable and showing himself. He was leading. He was being an example. So when it comes down to teaching any skill, those are key factors. But with accountability, I would definitely say that it's different for every situation and every person. But you have to do it tenderly. Seems like the right word, but it also seems like a weird word.
Consistently.
Consistently, yeah. But I'm saying you're not.
Progressively.
Maybe you're not just gonna lay the law down and throw a hammer on them and like throwing them into the deep end. You have to introduce it to them, because they usually don't know. I had accountability, ownership, responsibility, not in my dictionary. I was doing my own thing because I wanted to, right?
Mhm.
When did just to get an idea of where you guys were at in high school? I know Ahmed, you had a lot of responsibility and you
Yeah.
had no social life and you were very boring. But Kevin, what
That
were you
hurt.
doing
That hurt.
with, like, were you ever in a situation or position where you had to be accountable for people and their actions or your own actions, where like did you cared about it?
During high school,
Yeah.
I would say not really,
Yeah.
just because
On the same boat,
during that time it was kind of
cruising.
trying to be the cool kid, and,
Yeah.
doing the bad things,
But
but
in reality, I was the cool kid because I did what I was supposed to do. Yeah.
No.
we're in the same boat right now.
Bro.
We're in the same place right now.
Yeah, bro. But I knew I didn't care about being accountable. I didn't hold myself accountable for anything.
Right.
And so Calvin knew this. my dad knew that he had to implement it if it wanted to stick. It's kind of like I'm not sure this is the right example, but if you like potty train a cat, there's some device you use and the cat's supposed to go up there as a litter box on the toilet, and you're supposed to make you make it small and you progressively make the hole larger to where eventually they're just using the toilet seat and using the bathroom. But once you're looking at me all weird. Never heard about that?
I've never heard of
That's like
cat
how
being
you
potty trained.
can potty train a
We
cat.
don't
like,
have cats.
I know. I'm just letting you know that like that's how you do it.
But do you put diapers on dogs too?
No, I don't put diapers on dogs. I
Potty
don't.
training a cat on a
Well-
toilet,
well,
like
so
a human toilet. They're
Yeah, it's
sitting
like
on.
how they use the toilet. Like you make it. I'm not sure. I don't know the tool, but it's like essentially think of it like a small cover, and they'll sit on the cover and they'll use the restroom.
All right.
And then you'll slowly make the hole bigger to where it's just the toilet seat and there's no cover.
I thought
and
that's what cat litter was.
How
for.
about we change?
The-
How about we
okay,
stop
yeah.
well,
talking
the
about
whole
let me-
the whole
let me-
thing is
let
that
me
like
add
if the
something.
cat falls into the toilet during that progress, he's never gonna get on that toilet again, and
Can
you
I-
just lost
Can
the
I
whole.
add something?
Okay, yeah.
So
I'm
how
sorry.
about we ignore the whole cat thing? Because not everyone has a cat, and he's not always the best at explaining stuff. But what he's trying to push is, we're not only trying to do it consistently, but we want to like improve the impact over and over. Like with the cat thing, I don't know what the whole thing he's talking about, but if you grow it over and over, eventually he'll be able to do it by itself. That's sort of the whole thing with accountability. Maybe use a better example next
Well,
time.
I was trying to think of like how you I guess tenderly
You
seems
have
like
a
a
dog.
weird
You
word.
could have used a dog example.
Yeah, you gave us treats when we at the
No,
front door when
but
we walk in.
I
That's
guess like
accountability.
well, that's I wouldn't say that's accountable.
That's not.
No.
But like I'm trying to use the example of if you're instilling a new technique into someone's life, you don't do it to the extreme right
No,
away off the bat.
definitely
You
not.
have to slowly incorporate it, and
Mhm.
they're going to fail, and you can't just give up.
No. Just
That's
like with
what
a
that's.
dog.
Yeah, I guess the cat thing was a bad idea.
Uh-huh.
Dog one would have been a lot better.
Okay,
would've.
okay,
Like the
Kevin.
teething, you know, the
The treats. and then
jumping
not-
up.
No longer the treats.
Okay. Lesson learned. I'll just not ever come up with examples again.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the next stop is balancing.
Mm-hmm.
Balancing accountability.
Mm-hmm.
With everything in life, you're going to have extremes. That's kind of a given.
Right.
Can you give me an extreme? Real quick? I just want it off the cuff.
An extreme of
Yeah.
like accountability and responsibility, or just an extreme in life?
An extreme of accountability.
Okay. Well,
We're just trying to stay on topic, Ahmed.
you don't exactly phrase the best questions. But say, for example, so I work at a call center for the University of Texas at Dallas. My position, I eventually got a supervisor position, but I still have a boss to answer to. An extreme would be one day the boss, something happened to her back and she couldn't supervise. She asked me. It was really last minute. She asked me, hey, something happened with my back. Can you supervise? And I'm like, okay, well, it's my responsibility. Even though this is an extreme, I didn't get a heads up that, far back. I still did it because it's my responsibility and I have to look after the people.
Well, that's not really an extreme. I'm talking
Someone
about
hurting their back?
Well, okay. Well, just because something extreme happens doesn't make it an extreme example.
Well,
I'm
maybe
saying like
what's the
radical. Like radical. Like if you talk politics, you have like the radical leftists, radical rights, and those people are just like off the walker. So when we're talking about accountability, when you're taking it too far, that's a radical example. That's an extreme. It's on the ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Not at all.
Dang.
I thought I was the only one.
Dang.
It's okay. Keep going. Keep trying. Keep trying.
Okay.
Maybe a different question.
Throw enough at the wall and maybe it lands.
Hopefully. How about a
okay.
different question?
Well, I'll try to explain like this.
Sure.
My younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we were out in California,
Mm-hmm.
my younger brother was living with us at the time. My sister had already left for Texas,
Mhm.
and I was up next. And I was given the opportunity to leave and go to Texas. So I did. And I
Mhm.
left him with my biological father, that baby man, the person who makes poor decisions is not a solid father figure, is not a solid anything. He doesn't even know what he's doing with his life.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment when I had the opportunity to leave, it was perfect. I was like, the golden ticket right there. So I left. Now, the months leading up to that in California, I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time for a lot of solitude. And I talked with Calvin at the time. We were going back and forth over the phone. I was listening to a lot of Alan Watts, which if you don't know Alan Watts, go check him out. He's got a lot of good stuff on mentalities.
Is he a podcast also?
No, he's dead. He's he was a I forget exactly what he was before, a Zen monk. He was I think a Zen master, a Buddha monk. He was a monk. We'll say that for a time. But then afterwards, after he practiced the way of the Tao. Are you familiar with that? You didn't go to high school? They teach that in high school.
They don't teach that in high school.
That's why I learned it.
I don't know what high school you went to.
The same one we all went to. But it's the Taoism.
Oh,
Taoism?
yeah.
Okay, I said it wrong.
Yeah,
My bad.
Way of the Tao?
All right. I mean the way. It's the way. Okay. Anyways, that's this whole thing. That's his whole thing. And I was real deep into Alan Watts and Terrence. I think Terrence McKenna. Terrence McKenna. He's a like acid guy. Any hoodles. They're all about how you think and what the reason for life is and how to live it and all that stuff. And my dad, or Calvin at the time, was helping me understand all that stuff too. And that served as a opportunity and time for me to reflect on all the dumb stuff I was doing in high school before California. And from having sex when I shouldn't have, from doing pot when I shouldn't have, when lying when I shouldn't have, when I've done, which we'll uncover eventually, but I've made some pretty bad decisions that you guys don't even know about. But I looked back at all those things and it was like, dang, that was stupid. That was possibly the worst thing I could have done. But I didn't know any better at the time. I treated my younger brother really poorly. And he was definitely annoying and aggravating, and I didn't really want to be around him for the most part until I had that time to think about my wrong mentality. Now, when I came back to Texas, I couldn't reach out to him. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't reach out because of his connection and ties to my biological father. And my dad, Calvin, did his best to teach me that if you close the door, keep it shut. Because if I were to, all the work and stuff that we both did to get my biological father out of my life and disconnected from me would be at risk if I tried to reach out to my younger brother. So we both agreed that I should wait until he's older. But the other day, because of I put myself in this position, I would drive by the house that I used to live in before I moved out to California. And I didn't know if my younger brother was back or not. That's got tossed around, but he's back in Texas, and I saw him on the street. And it was the first time I saw him in a few years. A couple years? No. 2018, so yeah, a couple of years. And I saw him, he was much bigger. I mean, not fat, he was just older. And he was wearing the same clothes that I would always see him in. And when I drove past him, I teared up, and I did the whole, like, my jaw dropped. And I called my dad immediately. I was like, hey, I just saw Nick. Do I stay or go? And he was with the client. He didn't have time to talk. But he said, go. And I hung up the phone, and I drove off. Because every bit of me wanted to go out, park the car, go out there, and hug him, and say, hey, man, I'm really sorry for all the stuff that I did. I wanted to say that I'm sorry, but I couldn't. It was like coming back and learning all this stuff, learning all these new ways to go about life that I didn't get the chance to learn because of who our father was. And I know damn well he's not going to learn the same stuff. He's going to have to go through the same stuff that have gone through, and it's tough. And knowing that I can teach him, that's what this whole podcast is about, is to teach those people.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove off, and I parked the car, and I cried for what seemed like a real long time. And I screamed. I screamed, "Forgive me." I screamed, "I love you." I screamed, "I'm sorry." And I just screamed. And it felt good to scream. But the reason I felt those emotions, and I'm feeling those emotions that I'm feeling now, is because I feel like I'm responsible, that I'm accountable for the position he's at now, even though that is all on my biological father. I can do what I can do to help him eventually, but I feel real guilty because I've hurt him. I've hurt him in a lot of ways. I've hurt a lot of people. And I just want to make that right. And so taking what I can, doing what I can, part of my passion and desire, what gets me up in the morning, is that I'm going to be the best man. Damn. I'm going to be the best man for my younger brother. I'm going to do all I can every day to be better, so that when the time comes to see him again, I'm going to let you take.
Okay.
I'm going to let you take this one.
I got you. Definitely take your time. That's definitely one of the extreme examples of being accountable. It's usually afterwards when, you do all the things you do, you make all the mistakes. For a lot of people, this is sort of what happens when you start being accountable. But what we're trying to push towards is we want to make sure that you don't have to try and make yourself accountable like years later when you already made the mistakes. We want to make sure you get accountable during, so you don't have any more regrets or any more sadness.
So you don't make the decisions now.
Yeah.
That you are aware and you have the perspective to choose and make the decisions that are going to influence your life, because we know that they will influence your life. Dang.
Don't worry, bro. I'll give you a hug after.
Younger Tony is like, damn, what a little girl.
Younger Tony's a prick. I'm
And-
sorry.
Yeah, he was. Sorry, I lost track of Chambriel, our lovely engineer. What's the timestamp we're at now? I think we're at
You have 22 minutes.
22 minutes. Okay,
Perfect.
good. 22 minutes at 53. Love it. What does that make that? That make it 03, 13, 15. So at 3:15, right?
You got the math. You can
Okay.
do math.
I'm just making sure.
You've passed high school.
With a 2.4. Dang.
It's good.
Yeah, that is definitely an extreme of accountability.
Right.
So to say that balance is the reason why we're hitting on balance, because I initially said recognize. To recognize accountability was to apply, teach, and recognize. But I think in the car, I thought of balance being a better word, because you cannot care at all like I did when I was younger. I cared very little for anything. I was disconnected from every emotion. It was definitely a measurement I took mentally to protect myself and make sure that nothing would hurt me and I could just go willy-nilly and do what I want. But that is one end of the spectrum. Not giving a flying
Language.
duck, not
That's
caring
good.
at all, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, on the other hand, taking too much and feeling guilty. And I want to make the quick, I want to make a good reference for those out there who might possibly be in a similar position as I was. As you're growing up, your parents are your authority figure. They're your leaders, you could say. And those are the people who are responsible for you as you're younger. Somewhere along the line, there is a point in time, again, not a set date. There is not a July 24th on blah, blah, blah. This is going to happen, and you're going to become your own authority figure, and you have to be responsible for all the stuff that takes place in your life. But as you grow and develop, there is a time where your parents can no longer
Help.
well, no, they can always help. I'm trying to, I guess, be held account. If you're a kid and you go slap a student, then the principal's being like, "Hey, your
Can't always
son,
blame your parents.
your son is acting up.
Okay.
Put him in check."
Mm-hmm.
When you're in high school, I mean, that still is going to happen. They're going to call and they'll be
Right.
like, because you're still a kid. But in your life, when you're in high school and you choose to lie and manipulate your way through life, those are no longer the actions of your parents. Those are now your actions that you have to be held accountable for. That is going to happen. It's that cliche, everything comes into the light, and it definitely does. And part of me is like, well, it's going to come out in the light. I might as well be the one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you should, for one, not do stuff in the dark to begin with. But if you're going to, you better be the one who comes out, steps up, and brings it to light. Because if someone else does it, they're going to twist it around. They can make it seem much worse than it actually is. But that's getting a little off. That's another topic for a later episode.
Mm-hmm.
But with accountability, better to start now than later.
Right.
Better to assess your life. If you want to see a change, if you want to bridge your gap and get on the Voyagers Path, assess your life, see what's wrong, what you don't like, and don't blame the world for it. Don't blame your mom or your dad for it. Don't blame anything else but yourself. And try and make a plan. Give yourself a direction to go in. Hold yourself accountable on the way, and you will get out of whatever situation you're in. I can tell you that from experience. Find people who are also like-minded. Find people who are wanting to better themselves. Find people who have bettered themselves. Talk with them. Allow yourself to learn from them and develop and grow.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That was cool.
It was.
That was good.
You
Right?
kind of ruined the moment by saying it was cool. But
I don't care.
Honestly,
I don't care.
it's okay.
It's
We're
good.
It was still
I
good.
had to pat myself on the back with that
Mhm.
one. So I wanted to also ask you guys, other than my own personal little story there, I had asked you guys to come up with some examples of accountability,
Mhm.
and these just happen to be in leadership examples.
Right.
But for us to quickly dissect a couple in case this concept is still not totally clear, we can dissect it for a quick bit. So, Ahmed, if you could give an example that we can just chew on for a bit.
Okay. So back in high school, I was a captain for mock trial, and obviously being a captain is just make sure they do the things, make sure they get ready for competition, but it's also just make sure that they're not doing stuff they're not supposed to. One, for example, the teacher, coach for the mock trial team had to go somewhere like the teacher's lawn or someone called him up. So he went out of the room. This was near the end of the year after competition, so we were pretty much done. But I noticed that a lot of the other students, the underclassmen, looked uncomfortable, and when I looked around, there was a kid vaping. And it's a public school. A lot of people vape, a lot of people smoke pot, but
Yeah.
no. But you know, if they're this is just not something they're supposed to do, because the teacher, they trusted us to act responsibly, to represent the mock trial team, and it was my duty as the leader to make sure that they also do the same. So I just went up to him, said, "Hey, you're not going to have that here. He trusted us. Don't disrespect him or anything. If you're going to do that, do it either later or at home." And, you know,
Laying down the law.
yeah,
How'd that go?
he did it. And then the other students told the teacher eventually found out.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, he thanked me because I'm an amazing person.
Okay. All right.
But, yeah, no, that's sort of the idea of leadership and being accountable. My responsibilities was, at that moment, make sure that my team was doing okay, that they weren't doing things they weren't supposed to. And, you know, later on, the teacher found out, and I was held accountable by saying, "Hey, thank you for doing the thing you were supposed to do."
Yeah, because imagine if you said nothing
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher found out. I was like, damn, Ahmed,
Oh, yeah.
slacking on the job,
Mm-hmm.
right under my nose.
Oh,
Oh,
wouldn't have worked out.
wouldn't have worked out.
No.
Kevin, I know you might have an example for us
Oh,
today. Well,
So
real quick, I said we're going to chew on it. There's not much to chew there. That's a good one. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
a pretty basic example of
Mm-hmm.
taking accountability. You took it upon yourself to go to and correct what your, I don't want to call them subordinate, but team. You were the
Under-
leader.
yeah.
So I guess it would be. That just sounds a little.
Team
little-
member, I guess that would be better.
Yeah, that's better. Team member.
This isn't the Army.
No, it's not.
back in high school, I was a manager.
Can you
at
give us a
Duke.
bad example? No,
Bad
I'm just
example?
kidding. I'm
No,
just kidding.
don't listen to
A
him.
bad example.
Back in high school.
You can
back-
decide if this is a good or bad example.
Oh, okay.
Back at Dairy Queen, back in high school, I was working at Dairy Queen, and I was the
Mhm.
manager there. One of my jobs was to make sure the temperatures were all right, and we had to write them down in a book.
Right.
And if they weren't, then that means the system's all going to be all wrong. The frying's not going to work. So the managers usually don't do it there. We usually end up giving the job to someone else, and so that's kind of passing on the responsibility to someone
Uh-huh.
else.
Mhm.
And so it happened multiple times, but it's either they ended up not doing it, and then me getting in trouble, so it was accountable for me. But most of the time they did do it, and that's about it. It was just
What would you do if someone didn't do it? Did you?
if someone didn't do it, obviously, the thing about the book is I wouldn't know until the district manager would come in and say, "Hey, the book is kind of blank.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
writing here."
Mhm.
And then that's when I would look at them and I was like, "Sorry, that's my fault. I didn't give them the I didn't
took
yeah.
took accountability of
yeah.
that.
because like
Ownership.
because it's more of a to me it's more of a percussion if like how do I explain this? I would say to me at the time it would seem kind of like less trouble, but
To hand it down to someone else
to
and
hand
not
it
double
so
check.
like
and
so like they wouldn't like it wouldn't cause as much trouble if I just took the blame for it basically. But to me, but now I'm looking back and it seems like that was a good thing. Like, you know, you stood up for like, hey, that's your that was your job. You should have done it. You shouldn't have passed it on. And like, I was accountable for it.
I think that's another pretty good example. That's not a bad one.
Good one.
I would call that, declare that. Call that, declare? I declare that good.
Okay.
If you wanted
Is
to be
that-
fancy, sure.
Yeah, trying. But I'm kind of on the similar boat where you're at. You said, you know, back then you just thought, okay, it'd be easier if I just say, okay, my fault,
Yeah.
boss. But
Mhm.
now you're like, I see why I should say. So why should you? Did you say why, or did I not pay attention?
What?
Why you should say that's
that's
my
my
fault,
fault.
boss? Like, what's the importance of doing that?
The point of it is because to me it's more of a since it was my job at first, it was my responsibility at first, and I just passed it on.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's still gonna be my responsibility since it was my responsibility at
Yeah.
first.
Mhm.
That's what I've seen it as.
Okay.
now.
Yeah. No. But am I not asking the right question?
You're not.
Dang. Learning. I'm trying to get to the importance of doing it, because you could do that or you could not do that. I mean, now you see why you should. So why should, no. I guess you already answered that, huh?
You technically did.
Dang.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to
I
ask?
thought I did.
No.
Dang. This is embarrassing.
In front of all these people.
All these three people. Man. Well, I'm more so trying to get to why is accountability important. I was trying to segue that into the wrap up as to why accountability is important. This can be tied back to your mentality. Like I said before, your thoughts, what you believe, will lead to your actions. My thoughts of being disconnected from the world, being detached from the world, and not giving a hoot about anything except for whatever I wanted. That mentality led me to do the things and treat people the way I did and say the things I did on a regular basis. And that became my habit. And I ended up taking no accountability for anything. It was all everybody else's fault. I just had to scramble my way around what everyone else was screwing up because I'm flawless, which I am now, still flawless. But, you know, obviously.
Obviously what?
Obviously, I'm still flawless.
I think it's an opinion.
It's subjective.
Okay. I'll let you know. But anyways.
I think it's 2-1.
2-1.
You're kind of outvoted here.
But now, since my mentality has changed, since I have gotten on the Voyagers Path, which I'm going to keep saying until it sounds good, since I've gotten on this path that I want to change and be better.
What path?
Voyagers Path?
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
Is it by any chance the same Voyagers Path that's right behind us?
Well, look at that.
Yeah, look at
Yeah.
that.
For those watching, there's a nice little. For those aren't watching, there's a nice little logo we have. Anyway, thanks Ahmed for derailing this whole conversation. Now
You derailed it
this
in the
podcast
beginning.
is
It
ruined.
was your fault at first.
We
I'm
have
not being accountable at
but now since thanks to my dad, I have learned that the key step is to change what you're thinking and how you're thinking.
Right.
We can kind of say a bit of if you're a victim, things happen to you, right? Things are just coming at you instead of you going out there and taking charge and versus failing and winning. If you're a failure and you keep thinking like a failure, you're going to act like one and think like one. Do you guys know the whole lobster thing that with lobsters, if one loses a battle, and this is Jordan Peterson, I'm not trying to steal it, but Jordan Peterson's thing at his study is that lobsters, when they lose a battle, they could be the king of the hill, you know, they could be really dominant, but once they lose, they start going downhill from there, and they start acting differently, they start acting more submissive and like, you know, a loser. So same thing with people. That's why when you stand up and you stand up straight and you assume start sitting
Got
up
personal for a second.
when you start you know those what would you say dominant body positions, like standing up and putting your hands on the table and kind of leaning over it like you're about to give this really important serious talk. When you hold those and you hold them long enough, your body gets tricked into thinking, okay, now we're like awesome. It builds your confidence. And with your mentality, if you win, dang, you feel pretty good, and you're just going to keep on winning, and you can do all you can to keep winning. So when you tie all that to your thoughts and mentality, if you keep your thoughts negative, like a failure or a loser,
It's like a victim to life.
like a slave, like you said, tying that to Ahmed.
Yeah.
If you live and think like that, your actions are going to reflect that. What you say is going to reflect that. Your habits are going to reflect all of that. So you're not going to be accountable.
No.
You're going to have a really cruddy life, and it's everyone else's fault. And if that sounds like you, you might want to double check what you're doing.
Assess your life.
Yeah. But on the opposite end, if you are thinking positive, if you are acting positive, if you're acting like a winner, a leader, successful, all those words, part of that is going to be through accountability. You do that through accountability. Because I think we've given a good amount of the right examples that if you hold yourself accountable, things are going to change. And things are going to change with people around you, right? Can I get an amen?
How about we move on?
So, with all that said, that's how that we talked about how we can apply it.
Right.
And when it comes to teaching, each pupil is different. Each pupil is different. Yeah, just every person's different. Student. I like pupil. Pupil sounds like ancient. Every person's different, right? Right.
Better.
Every person is different. So every person. I can't tell if I'm.
You're good.
You're fine.
Fine.
Mhm.
You're fine.
Flawless.
Not
As
fine.
one
You're
would say.
fine. You're
I think we
fine.
said fine, right?
Okay.
Pretty double checking. Yeah.
So, to teach it, you have to be consistent.
Right.
You can't just do it once and they screw up and you just screw off yourself and you're like, okay, this person's never going to get it,
Mhm.
or else they'll never learn, unless they
Can't give up on them.
can't give up. There you
Mhm.
go. And you have to be. Tender seems like the wrong word, but I'm going to keep saying it until I find the better word. Got to be
Po-
tender.
Episode's about to end. I don't know
You
if you're
gotta
gonna find a better
You
word.
got to be tender with it, gentle. You have to
Gentle.
introduce it to
Gentle
them.
is better.
Okay, you can't just like throw it down on them and say
Mhm.
you got to do it this way, and this way. There's no flexibility.
Can't just be
You
once
have
either.
to slowly
Easing
ease it in
Mm-hmm.
to their lifestyle, and that's going to change on the person and the situation, because we can give an example all day long every day, but it's not going to be whatever you're going through. It's going to
Mhm.
be something unique because it's a person and that person is going through whatever, and whatever life they're in and whatever life you're in, and all those different factors. It's just almost impossible to give a nice example of how to properly teach, because there's going to be so much to involve.
Right.
But if you stay consistent and you think about, hey, this person's never thought about this before, so I have to give them a break and slowly integrate it, you'll make progress, I promise you, because that's exactly what my dad did to me. And you have to balance it. You can't go feeling guilty about things, as we've learned, or else you'll cry on a podcast.
Which is fine.
And, well, yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying you don't. You don't do that. You don't feel guilty.
Mhm.
You don't go to the extreme and hold yourself accountable for someone else's failures and faults. Now, of course, we can go on to your subordinates, but that's a whole,
Students.
yeah. Well, anyways.
What happened to people? Subordinates.
Well, I mean, like, if you're an actual leader, if they mess up, that's on you, because you're the authority figure. But that's a whole other thing to get into. What I'm getting into here is yourself. You're holding yourself accountable for things that you really aren't accountable for. Got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you find a person who's done what you're doing and trying to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You find people like-minded, and you find those who are masters, if you want to say, and you learn from them, and they put you in check, and they say, well, you're doing this, try this differently.
Right.
And if you can maintain that,
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the first steps
Mhm.
to getting on. Say it with me. Oh, come on. The Voyagers Path.
Voyagers Path.
No one
yeah.
said it with me.
I said it.
It's supposed to be. We'll
It
work
sounds
on
better when you say it.
The Voyagers Path.
Voyagers Path.
There we go. So that about wraps up our show.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to quickly say I am working with our... Oh, crap! Plug. We are part of the JPK Broadcasting Network. That is where you can find our podcast. I think I have to say, that is something I should say.
Should.
I just forgot. Dang,
You got
forgive
2
me.
minutes.
Forgive me, JP, Kathy. But I said it. So
did.
you can go find us there, and tons of other good shows and good qualities.
Mhm.
Well, good qualities. Well, yeah, I guess you can find good qualities. But I'm working on putting our show up on Spotify and Stitcher and iTunes. It's not up just yet, but you will be let known when it happens. We have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channel. Go check them out. Ask us questions. Get in touch. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap.
All right.
That was good. That was good. That was a good podcast.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
It was flawless.
You got to drop that.
I dropped the...
Can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen, brother?
Gotta get aim
Can I get an
together.
amen, man?
I was like, in my head, I was like debating to do it or not. I was like, and then you start laughing. I was like, start laughing. I was like, okay, never mind, I won't do it.
I